up your YouTube, search for Stukeley Meadows, watch on your big screen.
Or another device if you're at home.
Get yourself comfy, this could take a while. What a happy scene. Something new every day for your long-term memory. This is so exciting, it is nearly time for a Stukeley assembly.
Hi everyone, and welcome to this morning's Values Assembly. Feels like it's been ages since I've done one. I'm not sure I remember everything, so I hope you're going to help me out. First of all though, we will start with our values. That much I do remember. So, for each other we, every day we, to improve we, and together we will. And our everyday focuses are, and our Stukeley motto is, and our Stukeley curriculum is, and 4 words that make the magic happen. Brilliant. Okay, so here we are back at Values Assembly, and I don't know whether there are two parts to this assembly today. The main part is going to be knowledge based, because you know I can't let a national day go by in a week and not mention it and not help us learn a bit more about it. So that's going to be the first part, a knowledge bit of our assembly, and then a very short second bit at the end linking with the fact that this week is Stukeley Safety Week. So 2 parts to the assembly. So part 1 is knowledge based. I don't know whether you know, but on Friday of this week there is a national holiday. So one of the 4 nations of the United Kingdom, there is a national holiday. And I have a few clues, or little clues behind me that you may or may not recognise. I'm just going to stand back a minute and hopefully you can just about make them out. This is not the best picture in the world, but you might just about see that it's a knight on a horse, possibly with a dragon at the bottom that he's just about to kill, and a flag that you may recognise, and then also some dancers of some description here. I'll tell you a bit more about those later. Any ideas? Well, it is St George's Day on the 23rd of April every year, and that happens to fall on Friday this year. So St George's Day, and that is the kind of national day, or the patron saint day for England. And you may be aware, so now I've mentioned that, probably this flag is what you're most familiar with. So I wonder what you know about that. You might know a few bits, but I bet you don't know the whole story. So we are going to begin right at the beginning with, who is St George? Well, as I've just said, he's the patron saint of England. But was St George a real person? Well, yes, he was actually. He was born in Turkey during the 3rd century AD. They're not sure exactly when, but sometime in the 3rd century AD. He was a Christian who became a Roman soldier when he was 17. And what he's kind of especially remembered for is his bravery. So an extremely brave soldier, and he protested. That means he spoke out against the treatment of Christians by the Romans at that time. And because of that, he was then imprisoned and tortured. But even then, he stayed true to his faith. So that's why Christians really remember him and commemorate him, because he stood true to the faith even when he was under extreme pressure and spoke out against treatment of Christians at that point in history. So when did he become patron saint? What's that got to do with England? He was born in Turkey, after all, which is quite away from England. Well, he was made patron saint of England kind of unofficially by Edward III after he defeated the French in the Battle of Crecy in 1350. I think I might have said that name wrong, by the way. I'm sure some French experts can correct me. Anyway, so that was in 1350. But he's also patron saint of Ethiopia, Georgia and Portugal. I had no idea. As well as he patron saint of several cities like Beirut and Freiburg and Moscow. So who knew? So he's patron saint of quite a lot of places. But when did St George's Day starts. So although he was kind of unofficially, I suppose, made patron saint by Edward III, it was actually first celebrated on April the 23rd in 1222, so even before he was made officially the patron saint. So it's supposed to be, the 23rd of April is supposed to be the date that he died in 303 AD or thereabouts. So it's all a little bit confusing, as these things can be. But he became the official patron saint after the Henry V won the Battle of Agincourt in 1415. So let's just get our head around that bit, because it is a bit confusing. So he was kind of unofficially made patron saint by Edward III in 1350, but they had already celebrated a St George's Day in England in 1222, so before that time. And on the 23rd of April, which they think is the date that he died, way back in 303 AD. Got that? So we've got 303 AD on our kind of history timeline here. He was made patron saint unofficially in 1350, even though St George's Day was celebrated in 1222 for the first time on the 23rd of April. So there we go. So all very confusing, but broadly speaking, that is the story. So what else is he well known for? Well, he's probably most well known, in fact, for a legend. So the legend of St George. Now, a legend being a kind of story that might have been based on truth loosely, but over time, folklore, kind of oral history, that means the sort of spoken legends and spoken stories, it kind of got embellished a bit over time, possibly. And I think you'll understand why we say it's a legend or kind of folklore when you hear the stories. So let me tell you the story. I've actually got it here in front of me. So legend has it that one day there was a brave knight, here he is, called St George, who came upon a village on his travels. The villagers there were terrified of a dragon that lived in a nearby lake. So every day the dragon would demand that the villagers would bring him a young, beautiful maiden to be sacrificed. And in order that the villagers kind of made the decision as to which young, beautiful maiden would come to be sacrificed, they did like a lottery. So it was kind of a bit like a names out of a hat type idea. Until one day, the king's daughter was chosen. And George heard about this. And he decided that he would slay that dragon and save the princess. So he went to the lake from which the dragon arose, and he roared mightily, but George was not afraid. Going back to that initial story about him that said he was incredibly brave. But George was not afraid, and he fought with the dragon until it was slayed. The princess was saved, and the villagers were forever grateful. I can't imagine why that would be a legend, can you? It's bound to really have happened in that way. So that's the story, and that's often remembered and talked about. But how is St George's Day actually celebrated? It's not a national holiday, so like a lot of the other ones that we've talked about, like for Wales and for Scotland, for example, it's not a national holiday, but there are kind of celebrations and events that are taking place on the 23rd of April every year. There are often parades. In some parts of the country there might be parades with marching bands and Morris dancers. So back to this picture, these are Morris dancers, and it's a traditional kind of English country dancing where they've got kind of batons that they sort of hit together and bells round their legs. These are these parts here that make a noise as they move around. You might have seen some before. So that's what that picture is if you've never heard of them, Morris dancers. Sometimes there are reenactments, usually of that dragon slaying story. And there might even be something called mummers plays. These are kind of amateur productions, so not professional actors, but just amateur actors who will reenact popular folk stories and legends, much like the one about St George and the dragon. So that might happen as well as part of St George's Day celebrations. So there we have it, the history of the St George's Day celebration, April the 23rd every year. Let's just recap on the story. So he was born in Turkey sometime in the 3rd century AD. He was thought to have died in 303 AD. In 1222 was the first time on the April the 23rd, 1222 was the first time that St George's Day was kind of celebrated, and that's thought to be the day that he actually died, the date that he died. But it wasn't until, let me remind myself, it wasn't until 1350 that he was unofficially made patron saint of England by Edward III, and then Henry V in 1415 he became the official patron saint of England, and then it carried on being celebrated thereafter. Woo, that's a potted history. Okay, that's St George's Day. So now you know, so when we get to Friday, you know a little bit more about it. And this, by the way, is the St George's Cross. And you might recognise that it forms a part of our Union flag. And so that's the cross part of the Union flag. So if you ever look at the Union flag for the UK, you can see the St George's Cross in it. Okay, so there's that part. The second part of our assembly today is about safety, because we're on Stukeley Safety Week, and I am going to, I'll give you a little clue as to what I'm going to talk about. Bear with me. Okay, here I am back again, as if by magic. Here we go. Yep, it's the hand gel. I'm not going to do the whole second part of the assembly about hand gel, but what I am going to talk about is the fact that we are still thinking, not only in our school community, and I always talk about community, you know I can't resist, knowledge, community, those things I always talk about, in our school community as well as in the wider community where we live, home communities, families, and also our wider neighbourhood communities. We are still thinking about keeping one another safe and how we can look after ourselves to stay safe, but also how we can look after one another. Shops, you'll be aware, are now beginning to reopen, so what they call non-essential shops. Hairdressers are opening, can't wait, got an appointment on Saturday, everybody. Restaurants, all of those kind of places are beginning to reopen, so it feels a little bit like life is beginning to return to normal, and everyone's really happy about that, understandably. But it's so important that we remember that we've still got to think about hands. Here I go with the gel. Our hands, really important that we are washing hands still often. We've kept so many bugs and illnesses at bay. Hand washing, vital for that. The other thing we need to remember is about our faces. So adults wearing masks when we're in public places, and just keeping space between us and other people. Really important in school. We are a no hands-on school, aren't we, at the moment, because we're just keeping our hands and keeping our distance as much as we possibly can. We are still doing that. So hands, face, for those of us that are old enough and should be wearing face masks when we can. Space. So a no hands-on school. We're keeping our distance from one another whenever we can. And last of all, fresh air. So important. We know loads about that. And now the weather's improving. We can spend more time outside, our windows and our doors are open, and so we can get that fresh air in to help keep ourselves safe. So don't forget hands, face, space and fresh air, and making sure that we are keeping to our bubbles and keeping ourselves safe, because in keeping ourselves safe, we're keeping our wider school communities safe, as well as our family communities and our neighbourhood communities too. So there we have it. Stukeley Safety Week, can't get my tongue around that one. Stukeley Safety Week. Let's keep thinking about our hands, face, space and fresh air, keeping everybody safe around us. So St George's Day, Friday, enjoy everybody, and let's keep each other safe too as we go into the week. So take care, and I will see you soon.
Great to have Mrs. Stevens back with our first values assembly of the summer term. Thank you, Mrs. Stevens. Right, we've got a few shout outs to finish. My book is busy, so hold on for lots of shout outs. First of all, no Stukeley birthdays today. We're back on it tomorrow though, promise you that. First shout out goes to beach class. You're working remotely. I hear that you had a positive day yesterday, lots of good learning done. Hope today goes just as well. I've been looking at Times Tables Rock Stars from last week beach class, and this week you need to make up for it. So if you're remote learning, which you all are, please get on your Times Tables Rock Stars. Every single day you can do some and make up for a few gaps last week. Please do that. Let's stick with Rock Stars. I've been coming around school with my little checkbook, checking off what's going on. Let's have a quick look at some Rockstars scores and Numbot scores from last week. Now, it was only a 4-day week, but it's still a week back at Stukeley. So, foundation stage. Juniper got 16,053 points in Numbots. Rowan only got 5,497. So Juniper win. We've got Bowen, Luca and Aaron in the top 3. They've been there before, haven't you boys? And Emily, William and Marlena in the top 3 for Rowan. Year 1, Numbots. Cherry, 17,116. Magnolia, 23,003. Magnolia take it. And we've got Arabella, Gustavs and Hugo, number 1, 2, 3. And Bleak, Lily and Evan, numbers 1, 2 and 3. Well done, all of you. Year 2, Maple, 87,897 in Rockstars. Pine, 140,883. Well done, Pine. Top 6 players: Leon, Jenny, Jack, 1, 2, 3. Olivia, Otis, Thomas, 1, 2, 3. Well done, you 6. Great maths performance. Year 3, Lime, 152,093. Willow, 72,200. Willow, you are going to do this. You've got the whole of the summer term, but I know you're going to do it. Bo, Rose and Josh W, top 3 for Lime. Adam, Harry and Cameron. Well done, Cam, sneaking in there. Top 3 for Willow. Adam Benya here. Massive score. Oh, absolutely massive score. Year 4, Acacia, 53,952 in Rockstars Birch. 33,670. You're finding it tough to keep up, Birch. Alan, Noah, Isaac, number 1, 2, 3. Ellie, Amelia, Harrison, number 1, 2, 3. Very pleased with Ellie up there. I'm not sure we've had you up in the top 3 before, Ellie. Year 5, Chestnut, 46,426. Beach, 20,180. Sophia, Aaron, Charlie, Ava, Farrell, Carolina are the top 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Beach, that's one of the lowest scores I think I've ever seen. Used this week to get back on track. Finally, Year 6, Oak, 39,938. Sycamore, 65,925. So Sycamore take it. Rob, Conrad, Damien, a 1, 2, 3. George, Heather and Zach. Got some new names in there. 1, 2, 3. Well done, everybody, for your Rockstars and your Numbots. Quite a few children didn't go on it last week. It was only 4 days and it was our first week back. But come on. Every week we asked you all to go on twice. I've just dropped my book. I've kept a note of all of the children who haven't been on it for a couple of weeks in a row. And I will be sending out letters to families next week just to remind them, to remind their children to do the Rockstars and the Numbots. It really isn't much and it makes a massive difference. Come on, everyone. Shout out for Mrs. Page's Creative Challenge. One of my favourites this week. It's shadow art. Have a watch of yesterday's video again. Check the Twitter. There's some brilliant examples there. Get your shadow art in. Shout out for the Oakleaf Bookshop. If Mr. Jones is back in school, if he's back in school, it's open today, it's open on Thursday. We've got some new books, but most importantly, we got some new badges as well. I think I've showed you some of the Evel Knievel badges. This is one of my favourites. It's actually a road sign, but it's a bike going over a car. One of my faves. We've got another Evel Knievel there. I'm not sure if, is that clear? There's an Evel Knievel, not sure how clear that is. And then we've got another Evel Knievel which says, Evel Knievel loved retrieval. Oh, what a grub badge. Anyway, got 2 extra brand new badges. These are going to sell quick. First one is George's Marvellous Medicine. I'm not sure how clear that is. No, it's not great, is it? George's Marvellous Medicine before it all went in the pot, and then George's Marvellous Medicine in the pot. 50 pence each, these badges, limited edition. See you all at the bookshop. Right, I think that's it for shout outs. Just going to have a quick check. Yeah, we're now going to go to most important 60 seconds time, and it's Stukeley safety. You know it is.
The most important 60 seconds are coming up now. The most important 60 seconds are coming up now.
Okay, it's Stukeley Safety Week. We've been talking about the 6 things you can do if you don't feel safe. Talk to staff, talk to adults, talk to family, get an email sent in, use the talk box, talk to your friends. 6 things you can do. We've also talked about things that might not make you feel safe, things that might make you feel anxious or unsafe. We've also talked today, Mrs. Stevens has talked about being safe in a pandemic. Hands, face, space, ventilate. We've talked about that. Here's a very quick challenge. It might take a bit longer than 60 seconds. Here's a quick challenge for you. I'm now going to show you some signs. I'm going to show you some symbols about safety. When I show them, teachers, adults, pause it after each one, see how many children know what it means. They're safety symbols. When these are finished, it's the end of assembly. Enjoy. Here we go.